in that one evening, 6 crore rupees was raised.
That's right.
That money went straight to those NGOs, and it was like a public bid that was happening in the room.
You create something and then technology takes over and takes it all over, which is so incredible when you think about it. A young guy got up and he said, I've just got a job. I'm earning 50,000 per month just now, but I want to give 10,000 every month for this cause. That's Calcutta for you.
So what time did you wake up today?
4:30. Calcutta, a lover's epitaph. There is no other place for me. Calcutta's streets have been mapped by my heart, and I can stop anywhere and tell you stories of when I was a child and the city a youth, of when I grew up and the city refused to.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Make Calcutta Relevant Again, the podcast. Today I'm joined by somebody who I've been looking up to for quite some time in our beautiful city, somebody who's been working towards making the city a little bit more relevant through every little action that he takes in his life. Without any further ado, let me introduce to you Mr. Sunil Bhandari.
Hello, how are you? Good to be here.
I'm so glad that you could finally make it.
Yes, of course.
And if we talk about podcasts, I think this is perhaps the first time that I'm having a guest at the podcast who has way more experience than me in doing podcasts. So before all the things that Sunil does, and we'll get into each one of them, perhaps the thing that is closest, one of the things that's closest to Sunil's heart has been doing podcasts. And one might not know that his podcast, Uncut Poetry, is heard by more than 70 countries.
That's right.
Across the world.
Yeah.
Which means that you're probably one of the top poetry podcasters across the world?
Possibly the longest running, definitely. I think that sustenance and that energy makes it on the top somewhere, yes.
Then it's something that we've all heard, appreciated. First time he said he does a podcast, and I had met him socially through Pauline. And when you mentioned that you did a podcast, I was like, oh, it's a podcast. Then he sent me the link. I saw the link. I was like, oh, well, that's a very big podcast. It's got hundreds of thousands of followers. It's crazy. Yeah. But how does it feel like getting your voice out to so many people on something that they connect to so emotionally? Because, poetry is something that is very integral to the human experience. And you as a person, now knowing you a little bit more, you're somebody who is very intentional, very conscious about what you do, how you live your life. How do you feel like when so many people across the world give you love for something that you're able to connect with on a deeper human level?
It's humbling at one level. And at another level, one does not try to think too much about it. Because when you write poetry, you're intrinsically writing for yourself to begin with. And like all forms of art, when it goes out, it then belongs to the others, So that's very interesting, that dynamic between what you want out of your art and what others construe it to be. But the important thing and the fun part is when I get letters from people all over. It's incredible. People from US. I've got a huge following in Philippines. Why Philippines? I know. It's crazy. The other day I was checking and there was one person in Congo listening to my podcast. I mean, there's one very important dynamic here. Maybe my podcast is good. That's why it's kind of being thrown up by the algorithms of all the platforms it is on. But it is the technology which is actually throwing it to all these countries and the listeners there. So a very important part about what we do is the technology which we use. You create something and then technology takes over and takes it all over, which is so incredible when you think about it.
And how long has the podcast been now live?
Oh, I'm in Uncut Poetry. I'm on the 280th episode. It comes out weekly. So just calculate it. That's 6th year. Yeah, continuous, not a single Saturday missed.
Putting us all to shame here. We thought we knew how to do podcasts here at Make Calcutta Relevant Again.
Meghdut, I'm an antique in front of you. So I have the advantage of years.
Then Sunil is one of those people that whenever you see his face or you hear his voice in the first half of the day, the rest of the day goes well. I stick by that.
Ah.
So every time I've seen you on a call with Pauline, and and we'll get to the work with SVP
Of
and the
course.
philanthropy work that
Yeah.
you do, and more importantly, lead so many of us to do. If somebody meets Sunil in the first half of the day, their day is going to go well. So I hope you're watching this podcast in the first half of your day, somehow on your commute, in between your workplace and your home, or in between two meetings, and then I definitely can guarantee that your day is going to go really well.
That's such a sweet thing to say. Thank you.
So Sunil's been on the professional side. He's been one of those people leading one of the largest conglomerates in the industries in our city, out of our city. Let's say the RP Goenka group. But we will not spend too much time talking about that. That's your professional life.
That's
and,
right.
And this is what Sunil Bhandari is to a lot of us, is a lot more than what, let's say, the professional angle comes in. How does it feel like heading up one of the largest, conscious philanthropy? I guess it's called, right? What do we say?
Engaged philanthropy.
Engaged
That's
philanthropy,
right,
right?
yeah.
One of the largest engaged philanthropy ventures out of our country, and Sunil's the chair of our Calcutta chapter of SVP, the Social Venture Partners. I'd love to know more about how this became one of the guiding stars of your life, and how then that translated into SVP becoming such a big part of all our lives and all the things that we've done. So let's get deep into the SVP side of things.
Sure. So, I'll give you a little story about my life, which probably exemplifies a lot of people who get into philanthropy and want to take those baby steps. So, I'm a Xaverian. And one of the things which we used to do at that time, I remember, was give a little bit of our pocket money. And the other thing which we were asked to do was to go to this old person's home. Every month without fail, we used to do that. I think the whole concept of being available for others and not only for yourself was something which was laid as a seed in those days. And it was humbling and it was beautiful. Every month we used to go to this old person's house and they used to welcome us. They used to look forward to us. There were these old ladies who used to put lipstick. There were these men who used to put these shirts, new shirts, because they were waiting for these kids to come and read stories to them and bring them sweets and things like that. And it was incredible. And I think my whole journey of being there for others took its roots in that particular small phenomena which my school actually made me get into. Along the years, once you become a professional, you do cut checks and give it to people, causes you love. I'm a long supporter of Nanhi Kali, for example, the Mahindra initiative.
What does it do, Nanhi Kali?
Nanhi Kali, a girl child. But the beautiful thing is when you donate to them, you adopt a girl. And every 3 months you get a report card with a photograph of how she's growing. It's incredible. And that's something which we've been doing for a while. After a time, you start thinking that cutting a check is just one part of it. As a person who's a professional, who has hopefully some sensitivity and some knowledge to share, why can't we contribute more? That's where SVP came in at a time in my life when I was really looking around which NGOs to work with, where to give my time and energy to. The great part about SVP was, the people who brought me in were professionals like me. They spoke the same language. They were full-time professionals who used to give time and money to a cause. My first question was, how do you choose a cause? Because you get into a wrong cause and you spend time and energy on it and you feel so cheated, because there are NGOs and NGOs. All of us know how that works.
Especially in a country like where 2% of CSR has to be given to, some kind of NGO. People find their roots.
Exactly.
Just put in their money.
Exactly. So you have to be extremely care. So the whole process which I understood before I joined SVP was the care they took to find out a good NGO, to the way they went about nurturing those NGOs. But the biggest thing was that the focus was the philanthropist's journey. the person who wants to contribute, it's their journey which really is nurtured in SVP. Let me tell you about SVP. It's Social Venture Partners. This is something which started in USA by some Microsoft professionals who wanted to do something along with their professional lives. That's how they started SVP. Today it's in 8 countries. In India it is in 8 cities. And it's a huge movement.
Our city is the most active though, right?
I wish I could say that. One of the more ones, definitely. Bombay is huge, but I think each chapter is extremely active and has its own dynamics and energy.
I love the diplomacy here. I wanted Sunil to say, this is all about Calcutta chapter. No, we know all of the chapters are doing incredible work, but we are particularly proud of our Calcutta chapter.
Of course.
And also, just a little segue into something that has been a night of absolute wonder for me. And it happens rarely in Calcutta that, you go into an evening expecting something and then you get something very different in return.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago, I think the first SETU, when it was happening, and my wife Pauline, she's a very active member of SVP, and I think she's a lead partner in SVP. But that particular evening, she was not in town. I think she had gone back to France and she was teaching, or she was, heading up the sustainability department at HEC. And I got a message from her saying, drop whatever you have planned for this evening. You have to be here at this time. I just said SVP Kolkata chapter SETU.
That's right.
And of course, if she has said that I have to drop everything and go, I'm going to have to drop everything and go. So I cancelled everything that I had that evening without knowing at all. And I asked her, I said, what is it? She's like, you'll figure it out. I'm like, okay, what am I going to figure out? I go into a room, I think it was at the Taj.
That's right.
And I walk into a room where it was perhaps one of the first times I went into a room. I was like, okay, I don't know most of these people. I had met 10% of them, and all 10% of these people were incredible people I know who were doing great things in their professional journeys, and the rest of the room were completely unknown to me. And in that one room, in that one evening, 6 crore rupees was raised.
That's right.
And that money went into 4 different NGOs, I remember.
Straight to those NGOs.
Yeah. And it was like a public bid that was happening in the room. Incredible energy in that room. These founders of the NGOs would come, pitch their NGO on stage. It was like a sort of a Shark Tank kind of situation. And they would talk about why they were doing what they were doing. Very impassionate speeches. And then, people would be like, oh, I give that much, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs. People would just raise their hands and contribute money, and there was somebody going around with these forms and they noted everything down. At the end of it, they were like, we've just raised 6.5 crores. And in my life, especially in a city like Calcutta, when we are always saying eta korar jonno paisa nei, otar jonno paisa nei, people are don't have money, people are, there's a constant stress on no. And I think that's a difference with SVP. For the first time I felt, I was like, there was a resounding yes. Everyone wanted to donate, and it was not just donating with money. And this is where I guess the whole idea of engaged philanthropy comes in, because that was my first introduction. I was like, okay, these guys are able to raise a lot of money from well-meaning professionals and entrepreneurs, but it goes one step beyond. And that's what I learned that night, and that's what blew my head. From your perspective, what is engaged philanthropy and why does SVP practice that?
Sure. Just to finish off what you said about SETU, SETU is, of course, a fundraiser which we do every year for 4 chosen NGOs, which we have worked with, which have shown credibility and some remarkable work.
Yeah, it's not randomized at all.
It's not randomized at all.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hard work which goes in making sure that the NGOs make good pitches, because typically NGOs are very passionate about what they do, but they're not necessarily always very good speakers or anything, So we do a lot of hard work with them.
This is where Sunil's chartered accountancy cap comes on as well. Like, look at the balance sheets, financials, do the planning.
Completely. So, and which is so useful, so that later we don't get some unpleasant surprises. But what you rightly said, Calcutta has got such a bad name all across the country, as if it's a somehow it doesn't figure in the top lists when you talk about big cities for philanthropy, for anything. And then we see something like SETU, where people are so open-hearted about contributing to causes which are credible and good. So those are the two things which were really an eye-opener for us. So one, Calcutta has money if the causes are good. And number two, there are some remarkable causes which are there. Both these things, when they come together, I think people just open up. We did one fundraiser, again, very connected to SETU, where we did a fundraiser for a school, and one young guy got up and he said, I don't have much to give. I've just got a job. I'm earning 50,000 per month just now, but I want to give 10,000 every month for this cause.
It's 20% of your
That's
paycheck.
20% of his paycheck, and he was ready to give it forever and ever for the cause because he loved it. That's Calcutta for you. Something which ranges from a person who's giving 20,000, 10,000, which is 20% of a salary, to someone who might be giving 1 crore from his CSR budget. But if the cause is good, it resonates with your heart, you are there. Engaged philanthropy. The important thing about the engaged philanthropy part is you are actually contributing 2 to 5 hours every month. And for an NGO to have a chartered accountant or a management graduate or a marketing maven to come and give them advice about how they should run their NGOs, give them HR advice, how to get their structures in place, that's more valuable than the money which they can get. It's incredible. Imagine there's a partner who's in McKinsey. He's giving a McKinsey guy giving and advising NGO how to do what you are doing. I mean, it's gold.
Yeah, it's probably more valuable than the amount of money that they can raise, because it's suddenly you're taking the idea of an NGO from being part of an unstructured segment to something that has a proper plan, that has a budget, that has KPIs of success, and suddenly I can see. I mean, through the work that we are doing at SETU regularly, we can see when the NGOs come back and you see the work that they've had promised and are now delivering upon. That's insane. Maybe a couple of examples of the most unlikely progress or evolution that you've seen amongst NGOs coming out of SETU, with or without naming them, if you want to keep it.
It's incredible. I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, for the next 2 hours, I can tell you stories about NGOs which have done well out of the 8 which we have so far provided SETU platform to. One which immediately comes to mind is Calcutta Foundation, which is run by 2 young sisters. When they came to us, they had just one kutir, which they call. A kutir is literally a place, they go to a small, you can call it a colony or, one of those slightly out of the way districts, and they set up a kutir where girls come and learn skills so that they can go and then find a livelihood for themselves, They started with 1 and now I think they have 30. And in SETU, they raised about 1 crore, right? And that has contributed to innumerable kutirs which are coming up and still coming up, so they become self-sufficient. It's like, one of the tragedies about promoters of NGOs is that whilst they have all the ideas and the energy to do good, but half the time they're raising money. So when you free them from that, then they can concentrate to do what they are doing best on the ground.
It's a bit like startups as well, right? CEOs of startups should not be part of the fundraising activity. Either they do fundraising full-time or they run the company full-time. You can't probably do both.
Absolutely.
It gets tricky.
Absolutely.
Right? There is a certain similarity that I've seen in the way that you tell stories about your NGOs at SVP. And the way you tell stories in your poetry, right? I wanna see where those two worlds collide for you. What is Sunil the poet and Sunil the philanthropist? Where do they meet?
I wish I knew the answer. That would be interesting to examine. Let me come back for my next episode with you and then tell you about that. But frankly, poetry for me is breathing. Really, I write every day. And for me, it's like my morning diary. So I that's the first thing I do when I wake up. And I have a very unusual routine. I walk and I write.
While you're walking?
While I'm walking. So I use my phone.
Okay.
Yeah. And I wake up really early. So the walking track has nobody. So there's no chance of me bumping it to anybody.
So what time did you wake up today?
4:30.
Oh my God. I was going to say, this is like closer to the time that I go to sleep. And then, yeah, okay.
Oh, well.
We will move past this
We'll
part of
move
the
past that very
episode.
quickly.
Yeah, really quickly. So you get up in the morning and you start writing on your phone.
I start writing on a phone as I walk, right? So 1.5 hours I walk, so 1.5 hours I write. So a lot of the stuff which I write is rubbish, believe you me, because it's those thoughts which come out in the morning. But a lot of it takes place and becomes poetry, which then of course I revise, and takes a while to get it all together. And so it's like an unfurling of my mind every morning, you know, whatever has been haunting me in my dreams, or probably when I went to sleep, all of it starts unraveling in the morning, and it's true thoughts, it's raw stuff which comes out, you know. One of the reasons why my podcast is called Uncut Poetry is also because there's a rawness to it, which I let be, you know, because I feel it gives a honesty to it, for me at least. I don't know if it's for the listener or not, but for me there's that honesty which is there, a rawness, which I quite like, right? And for me it's a journey, because I've been writing for such a long time. When I look back into my old poetry, I can see the person I was at that time, what were my concerns. So it's almost like an autobiography when I read my poetry. I can see my evolution or devolution, I'm not sure, as a person, you know. So it's great fun, actually. Yeah. And one hopes that whatever I'm feeling and whatever I'm putting down on paper is something which resonates with the person who's on the other side. Obviously it is, otherwise I wouldn't have so much of listenership. So fingers crossed. I'm so happy.
Yeah, and I think honesty also forms a large part of who you are as a person, because even today, like, just to elucidate with an example, this morning Sunil says, this is actually my first video podcast. All my podcasts are in the audio format, and I'm anxious and I'm nervous. For somebody who's done 280 episodes of a podcast, ladies and gentlemen, you tell me, who would ever say something like this, that, I'm still anxious and, I don't know how this podcast is going to go. One, I think it's going really great,
Thank you.
Just to break that down for you, so that if there's any remaining anxiety, you may let go.
That's because of you. You make me feel so comfortable. So that's all on you, Meghdut.
No, but the second thing is just the honesty with which you approach life, right? There is a certain sense of, hey, this is who I am, this is where I come from, this is what I will give, and you are vocal about it. And I think that forms a very large part of why so many people like you, and so many, you have this sort of like this fan following, which he's not, he almost seems a bit like shy of accepting this, but there is, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this, especially from the SVP community and from your various other walks of life, they will share my sentiment on that. There is a huge love for Sunil the person.
Oh my. Welcome to the fan club.
Yeah, welcome. This was the whole idea of today's podcast, was to introduce the fan club, Sunil Bhandari's fan club.
Look at you.
But we had a very interesting episode on this podcast on its first season. So that's also been on 3 years. Not as long as you, but we've been doing this for a while.
That's awesome.
Back then, nobody was watching the podcast. Right? Let me tell you this also. We just kept doing it on my free time whenever I got a time. And I used to love reading books. I still do, but I don't get as much time. And now I feel like I can learn so much more from people. So this became, doing podcasts became my sort of selfish way of learning about people that I love and look forward to meeting.
It's a lovely way to do that.
And it's been great so far, And one of those people was Mudar, Mudar Patel.
Of course,
and if I say this, that if there's one person in the city who embodies Calcutta lover, he is probably that person for me.
Absolutely.
And I recently saw a video of you and Mudar, these two semi-white-haired guys, dancing away on the streets of Calcutta, because one of the NGOs that they support has raised a bunch of money, right? Or what was this story? Because this was the highlight of my day. I enjoyed watching this video so much. What was it about?
So there's this NGO which works out of Garden Reach and works with disabled kids, and they GRIRR, yeah. And wonderful NGO. They does some sterling work. Both Mudar and I support it. I from SVP side and Mudar on his personal side. And we also help them in these kids when they acquire a skill to get a job. And we were trying hard for them to, a couple of them were very, very difficult to place somewhere. And we were trying hard to get them in Reliance Retail. Lovely job, something which was suitable to their skills. But there was those interviews and all that. And the last night, before we went dancing on the streets, we got confirmation that both of them had got the jobs. And we were absolutely overjoyed. So Mudar said, "Aa jao." So I said, "Kahan?" Bola, "Just aa jao." And I went, he stays next to the lakes. So he said, "Let's go to the streets." His wife came out and he said, "Let's start dancing." And we started dancing and it was short. We were so happy. It was like a gleeful moment, and it just caught fire, that little video, it went viral. And the best part was it affected so many people. They could see that this joy was not ours on a personal side, but it was so personalized, and people called me and said that you were laughing because two guys got a job, it nothing to do with you. I said it has everything to do with me as a person, because that is what I do, that is what I am. And I must thank Mudar. He's such he wears his heart on his sleeve, He's a wonderful, wonderful person to be with.
Very interestingly, this GRIRR.
GRIRR. Yeah.
Yes. So this is one of the NGOs that this year we are supporting through the Kolkata Tattoo Festival
Yay,
as well.
how
and
lovely.
CCU Festival. So
Wonderful.
every person who gets a tattoo which dedicates their love towards our city, the money for that tattoo does not come to the tattoo studio or the artist. We have a deal with them. It will directly go to Garden Reach. And that's the first time we are trying out something like this. So let's see how it goes.
How beautiful is that? Really, really admire that. Thank you.
The new ways of fundraising. We've learned it from you. SVP has taught us our little ways of, supporting the NGOs that we work with. We work quite closely with Vihan as well. Vihan
also.
From the first SETU, that was the first time without even asking Pauline, I said, I'm supporting. I love the work that they do.
How lovely. I didn't know this.
Oh, you didn't know this?
No.
Oh, yeah. So, there's nothing to, say, but it's something that I personally feel very strongly about, and the work that they do,
of course,
against trafficking of women and rehabilitating them back. We made a film for them. We went ahead and helped with a few of their. I don't want to talk too much about that, but just know that Vihan has been one of those
so nice.
One of those NGOs that we found through SVP and we ended up supporting. You also figured out a very interesting way of supporting young NGOs through the fast pitch, right? The SVP fast pitch.
Yeah.
It's almost like startup fundraising, almost like startup business plan competitions, but applied to social enterprises and NGOs.
That's right.
And I found that to be really, really exciting. And last year, I think one of Pauline's NGOs won, right? It was the one that she was supporting.
That's right. She was the one who was coaching that NGO.
Coaching the NGO.
That's
Do you want to talk a little bit more about this? Because I have yet to ask Pauline to come join me on one of my podcasts. We did one shared one together, but I'm gonna have to do a 10-hour. I have to do a 10-hour podcast with her. It's gonna happen at some point.
Oh my God! It's gonna be autobiographical and it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be super fun. But till then, I would love to know from you about how you came up with using sort of these fast pitches to help raise money. And
so fast pitch is a wonderful concept, which we of course do it as a SVP as a whole, and what we do, we ask NGOs from all over. Of course, it's all over means the states in which we work in to apply. And there's certain criteria which you need to fulfill, and there's the criteria which we use to filter them. And this year we chose 10 out of the hundreds of applications which we got. They are not necessarily SVP supported NGOs. They could be anybody, And once they are identified, there's a huge process which lasts 3 to 4 months where we coach them how to make pitches, how to ask for, exactly like a Shark Tank. We train them. And on the D-Day, it's an online event. It opens up to the world. There are these 10 NGOs which make their pitches, right? And they open the fundraising up on the platform itself. So you can give 10 rupees, you can give 10 lakhs, you can give 1 lakh, whatever, you know. And we use that platform to create a awareness amongst individuals who want to see very, very good NGOs, and also expose companies who are looking for CSR opportunities to see some fantastic NGOs which they can then support in a bigger way. It's been mind-bogglingly successful. We've had 4 iterations of that on 4 years, and I think the audience, online audience, is growing every time. The kind of money which is being raised is growing every time. But the most important part about Fast Pitch is, A, they get trained how to make pitches, which helps them when they go out into the real world and start doing it with CSRs and individuals. And number 2, it also gets individuals who've never done donations to actually sit down for an hour, see some sterling work being done, get moved, and say, "Ki, listen, I want to put a little money there." You know, so there are a whole lot of first-time contributors who come into Fast Pitch. So it's quite a ecosystem shaking kind of a
beautiful
thing,
model.
you know.
Yeah, and this year
Fabulous.
I sat through, we did a listening watch party for
Of
for the
course,
Fast
it's such
Pitches, right?
fun.
It was super fun. All the
Yeah.
SVP partners, members get together,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we
yeah.
watched it on a big screen with cheering for each other's.
Correct,
And just
correct,
it was almost gamification of
Yeah.
like fundraising, which I
Yeah.
really enjoyed. And even the production quality was so top notch, right?
It
The way
was.
that it was
Yeah.
shot, it was almost like Kaun Banega Crorepati, less less Bollywoody, but the way it was done was big ups to all of you guys. It shows the kind of hard work that goes into
Absolutely.
putting something like that together. Not just about selection, but coaching, and then
Yeah.
polishing them up.
Yeah.
And when finally you see the results and the bigger impact, and you're like, oh, my work was well done.
Yeah. So, the advantage of SVP having so many professionals and business owners helps,
Of
at least get that polish and the professional touch to it, which is so important,
Super.
Yeah.
So if you are watching this, and if either you're an NGO that is looking to raise funds, and you're doing good work, but your work does not get noticed as much, or you're a professional that wants to support NGOs and social businesses doing good work, or you're an organization, as Sunil mentioned, that that wants to institutionally do better, make better use of your CSR funds, then you know who to get in touch with. Mr. Sunil Bhandari,
Sure.
Calcutta chair of SVP. We are also all part of it. So feel free to reach out to us, and we'll put you in with the right people, just so that next time we don't have to hear things like, there aren't opportunities for NGOs or for social business owners who are doing good work, and, their work does not translate. So if it doesn't translate in a lot of cases, it's also because you don't do it as seriously, or you don't know how to do it that would really break through all the noise and get you noticed and get you funded.
One thing which I've realized along these years is no good initiative will ever not get funded. Believe you me, I think people are desperate for opportunity. Just last week, I was sitting with the owner of a business, and he said, "I've got 1.5 crores this year of CSR money, and I don't know where to give it. I've got a list of NGOs, and I have no idea if they're good or not. Can you help us?" And he wants to do something in education. So those are the kind of opportunities which are going a-begging, literally a-begging. I mean, the last thing you want is the money to go to Prime Minister's whatever fund you give if you have CSR and you don't know where to give it. When there are such worthwhile causes right in front of your eyes and nose, literally.
Yeah.
But I would add one more category to all the things which you said. If you want, as an individual, to be a philanthropist, to get involved in social work along with the work which you're doing, again, SVP is a great platform to be a part of. Like Pauline is, I am, all of that.
And it's also a great way to meet people who think like you, and who believe that, there is karma, there's a sense of just, doing good work will always be superior to anything else. Like, you have time, you have resources, you have networks, you want to put it to good use. Doesn't always have to be money. In most cases, it is not money, actually.
You're so right.
This we've seen as well, through the Make Calcutta Relevant Again campaign as well. We do these things called the the happiness drives that we run, the
Yeah,
kindness
yeah.
drives,
Kindness drives.
where we basically go to an NGO and we take some food that's cooked by home chefs, and we take some singers from Saregamapa, or one of our friends
Correct.
who's a good singer with a guitar and like a cajon or something, and we go and make music for these kids, and we feed them, and we just spend a couple of hours in the afternoon with them. Love and kindness drives, that's what we call them.
How
And
lovely.
it becomes such a highlight of the week for us, that when you're tired, exhausted, you've had mentally, very, very exhausting time, but then you go and meet these kids and they're clamoring all over you and climbing on your back and just like, joining in, singing, dancing with them. And in the end, the food that we take for them is, they don't even eat it there. They just take it home. It's biryani. They take it, they pack it and take it home to eat it with their siblings or their parents. And that's such a, we realized much later on that the idea of doing something like this was to give them the best day of their year.
Wow.
Sometimes it's just that moment. Next time you see them, you're like, তোমরা এসেছিলে না, তো খুব মজা হয়েছিল, আবার কবে আসবে?
How
Somebody be like,
sweet.
আমাকে
How
জু নিয়ে যাবে বলেছিলে.
How
Somebody said
lovely.
literally, like, তোমাকে যেতে দেবো না, তুমি বলেছিলে আমায় জু নিয়ে যাবে, তুমি নিয়ে গেলে না. And then we did that last year with one of our partner NGOs as well, with what was called Flying Crores before, right? The rugby, the Khelo rugby guys, so Paul.
Right.
And because we support Sujata's, Future Hope
Correct,
as well.
correct.
A lot
They
of our
were
students
lovely.
they're doing great work.
Fabulous
They're
work.
one of the first NGOs that was part of SVP, right? That got funded
right.
by SVP.
That's right. That's right.
My understanding of that school is very different, because I used to go to St. Lawrence High School, and back then Future Hope did not have a school. So all the kids from Future Hope NGO used to study at St. Lawrence. That was my first understanding of social inequality in my life.
Wow.
When I was in class 4 or 5, I think.
Okay.
And I got introduced. I was like, okay, there is something called poverty in this world. There are people, these kids who are in my class, my classmates, half of them come from the streets. And for me, this was like mind-blowing completely. I had no idea. And that school, I think, I'm so grateful to St. Lawrence High School for my upbringing on that it was all equal.
Those are humbling things now.
Amazing. I learned so
nice.
much from those teachers who never differentiated between, kids coming from the city, kids coming from the streets, kids coming from the NGOs, and everyone was the same. You were, taught to respect and love people irrespective of where they came from. And as a young child, it was completely life-changing.
Just going to that school makes you a different person altogether. Nothing at all. Nothing else.
It changes the way that you think and you perceive your fellow human beings. It's just.
I think we had the similar thing in Xavier's,
You had,
because
of
it
course.
follows the same kind of
all
a template.
They were all the same kind of
the Jesuit fathers, big-hearted people.
Big-hearted
It's
people.
amazing.
That creates the social fabric of our
Yes,
city
so right.
so beautifully as well. And today, the fact that we get to support NGOs like Future Hope, and we just this year we actually at one of was it a Future Hope event or an SVP event, we had said that we would support the education of 5 kids coming out of Future Hope.
Okay.
So their higher education is now being taken care of us as of this year.
Fabulous.
I think there's one of them wants to be a lawyer, one of them wants to be a business person.
Really?
One wants to study computer science engineering, and it's very hard to get computer science engineering seats at Techno India. They all get filled up
very quickly.
very, very quickly. And yes, somehow I think we will be able to manage.
So there you are. You have the opportunity. You could have just ignored it, but you've actually taken the next step and made sure that there is somebody who takes care of those opportunities. That's awesome, Meghdut. It's not a small thing at all.
But that also comes. Imagine I live with my mom, who is such a big-hearted. I mean, I wouldn't even call it philanthropist. So much of her work is around, providing educational opportunities to people at the bottom of the pyramid. And I've grown up around her building schools in tier 2, tier 3 cities. Now we have almost 40 schools, and these are English medium schools, CBSE board, in tiny towns where kids of rickshaw pullers and taxi drivers and gardeners, all of them are studying. It's very, very affordable schools that they get to, and on top of that, there's a lot of scholarships. And she's been one of those people that, hey, profits come much later in the journey. First, build something where the youth of our country can get educated, and that's such a big thing. And then I got married to Pauline, who is just embodies this thing so beautifully, you
So
know.
the universe attracts good people. You've attracted the right person.
I guess, and in my friends as well, I think I'm very blessed with the kind of people that I
Touch
call
wood.
friends.
Yeah,
Touch wood, you know,
touch
that,
wood.
and hope that
Wonderful.
continues. Hope that keeps pushing us on the right path.
Of course.
We need
of
more and
course,
more of these
course.
conversations.
Yeah.
But wow, that was such an interesting morning. For me, my morning's been made. This is the first
For me
first
too. Thank you.
first shoot that we are doing today, and I'm glad. It's a hectic day afterwards, but now I'm filled with energy, and I know that the path that we're on
Of
is good,
course.
is
Of
right,
course. Of course.
and you can count on us for supporting SVP and
Thank
for
you.
all the
Of course.
ventures
Of
that you do.
course. Yeah.
Before we close today's beautiful conversation with Sunil, he's another one of those people who loves Calcutta very much, embodies this love very strongly through everything he does, and he's a poet. So before beginning the podcast, we decided that maybe we make a request to you to recite a poetry about Calcutta, perhaps,
Of course.
for all of
Yes.
our listeners.
Yes.
And
I'd love to do that.
amazing. And when we
Love to
finish
do
the
that.
episode, we'll also include a link of your podcast so others can
Wonderful.
follow, and
Thank
especially
you.
people who are poetry lovers can go back and follow.
Sure.
Your,
Absolutely.
is this part of your poetry book? There's a book that you wrote of love and other abandonments.
This one is not, but it will be a part of my next one,
Okay.
which touchwood hopefully should be out later this year or early next year. So
Okay.
I'm working on it. My publisher has been haunting me literally every month. Where's the book? Where's the book?
Haunt him
So-
more. We want the book as well. As much as you want the book, we want the book. And he's going to come back to this episode, to another episode on this podcast. And he's going to get a signed copy of the book for all of us
course,
at
yes,
MCRA.
Sure. So this one is called Calcutta, a lover's epitaph. There is no other place for me. Calcutta's streets have been mapped by my heart, and I can stop anywhere and tell you stories of when I was a child and the city a youth, of when I grew up and the city refused to. But in its heart now lie crumbling memories of all who grew tired of waiting for its mornings to burst out into light. Even as I sit on the curb and sip tea from earthen teacups crafted from its steam. I'm still a lover, though in the shadow of its decaying facades and tired cathedrals, waiting for its glory to emerge from its cemeteries, the way a strand of grass cracks open a gravestone. I have invested too much of myself into the city, into the bloodstream of its roads, into the pores of its eccentricities. Too much pain, too much sweat, too much semen, too much poetry to now say, I abandon you. But I despair of this city, this lover. Doesn't it owe me anything? But it lurches from one wound to another, as if life's expositions are lesser if not written in scars. Now I feel abandoned. The city's faithlessness is now not of the senses. It is a disembowelment of my belief. And if in that deceit lies its definition, then it is also the epitaph to my irreparably broken heart.
I think it makes sense why people across 70 countries listen to your poetry with so much longing. I guess they wait for your podcast to come out. Sunil, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know you've not done video podcasts before, but I think I would definitely subscribe to your video podcast channel. The way that you talk about Calcutta, I mean, yes, it is important to be positive, but at the same time also know what is happening, where we're going wrong.
That's
the fact this is not the city that we perhaps inherited. It's gotten from bad to worse, perhaps in a lot of ways, and it's on us. I mean, as you said, we've put in so much of our blood, sweat, tears, and semen into this city to.
How can we abandon it
how can
now?
we
But it
abandon
breaks
it?
our heart also. You
Exactly.
Know?
So, what a beautiful, prosaic way to close the episode. I look forward to having you again on our podcast.
Thank you.
I'm surprised it took so long for you to come, but everything happens at its own time.
That's right. I always believe that. Thank you for having me. It's been such a delight. It's been such an easygoing conversation. You're a lovely, lovely person to talk to. Thank you so much.
Hopefully not just on the podcast, hopefully like in real life as well.
Absolutely.
But thanks so much, Sunil.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time. Thanks for your intention, and thanks for your honesty of words, of spirit, and of the way that you love this city. I think that's what binds us all together. Keep doing the incredible work. Keep guiding us on how can we be better, do better in our everyday lives. And
likewise.
And we'll see you all on the next episode of Make Calcutta Relevant Again, the podcast. This is Meghdut, your host, signing off. And keep doing some good. Keep believing that you have the ability of doing good, because every little action contributes to that massive ocean which will eventually make Calcutta relevant again.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing the good work. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. See you.
Make Calcutta relevant again. You already know. Relevant again.